We are in Derech Hashem, the second chelik bet, Perek Shishi. That's the sixth Perek in the end of Siv Katan Gimel. We're really, no, not Siv Katan Gimel. The end of Siv Katan Bet. I'm sorry, Siv Katan Bet. Siv Katan Bet. The beginning of the paragraph starts with Ve'omnam Ikar Davar Kachu. Okay, Ve'omnam. So we're in Bet Vav Bet. Ve'omnam is the Dibur Maschel, is the beginning. Ve'omnam. Ikar Davar Kachu. Okay, basically we were speaking about last time. There's a very interesting parak. It's a hard parak to get a grip on, that's the truth, because it speaks in detail about what happens upstairs in Shemaim. Just like we know that there is a court of law in this downstairs, in our world, and that we know the way it works, with a prosecutor and a defendant, and a back and a forth, and edim, and testimonies, and a judge, etc., etc. So this whole entire parak is here to tell us that upstairs, in the higher worlds also, when you're going to have your mishpat, din v'mishpat, it's going to be the same exact thing. The same bull, exact thing. It's going to work that way. As opposed to what you would have thought, that you just go upstairs and Hashem gives you a zetz. He gives you a zap. He finishes you off, or He gives you a present. He gives you the booby prize. It doesn't work like that, which we're going to explain a lot of the reason why that's not, why it's like that. But basically, as we learned last week, there's a few reasons for this phenomenon. First of all, this way we know that Hashem stands as the judge. And since He is the judge, as opposed to just the one who's the deliverer of all the punishments, so therefore it's possible to have rachamim. Sometimes He can acquit you, He can let it go or not let it go. It's obviously according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu what He decides. But at least He stands as a judge, that's A. B, we mentioned that, and this is the point we're going to speak about today, is that the kitrugim, the things that come against or for you, are automatic. It's not an external punishment that just happens. It's not something that happens externally and haphazardly, and it could have been just that way and it couldn't have happened that way. But it's something that is an automatic consequence to your actions. An automatic consequence to His action. Like I said, I want to speak about this soon. And therefore, you should realize that the penalties are there. You can in this world you can go out and plea bargain, and you can say I didn't mean it and this and that. But over there, there's no ein eitz of ein tvuna. And the third reason we mentioned for this is to know that everything is 100% bedikduk adin. Everything is bidyuk. It's a mishpat mesudar. Everything is very orderly. Everything is if it would just be that you'd go up there and the king would say, off with his head, so you'd feel there was a lack of justice. Who knows? He doesn't really know what I'm talking about. But since it comes with a whole mahalach, a whole back and forth, there are edim, testimonies, this side and that side, there are malachim on both directions, everything is there in order to be very dynamic. So over there, that shows and proves to you the emistikite, the realness of this phenomenon, that everything is very meduyak. Everything is according to the letter of the law. The Vilna Gaon writes in the Pasuk of Mishlei, Megurat Rasha hi nevuah. What's Megurat Rasha hi nevuah? Rasha's penalties, Megurat Rasha hi tevuena. She'avera atzma, I'm reading to you from the Goyen, She'avera atzma oisa din beresha. The avera itself is the one that does the resha that you did. In other words, that you did is the avera itself. Whatever the avera itself you did, that's what is the rasha. And the avera itself is the one that's going to give you a zetz. That's the one that's going to punish you. The avera is what's giving you the punishment, which is good and bad. It's bad because you can't get around. You can't squirm out of it. You can't get any rachamim. If you did something, you created a malach, that itself is your kitrug. That's the one that's against you. And he's the one who's going to punish you. But there's a certain advantage, as the Vilna Gaon points out there, is that it's limited. Since it's a physical creation, which was made none the less than you, and it is a malach which has a right and a left and a certain limitation. So therefore, there's only so much of that will be, as opposed to the continuation over there. Ta'avat tzadikim yiten. The tzaddikim, whatever they wanted, they will receive. Now, yiten, says the Vilna Gaon, is lashon netina, which means it's coming straight from Hashem. In other words, the schar that you get, that's straight from the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem feeds you hand to mouth. You're getting that directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore, it's nitzchi, and therefore it comes straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is, of course, the way we always wanted, and you get much more for your money, as opposed to an avera, which comes from the Avera itself. The Avera itself is the punishment. It's not two separate things. It's a thing itself that will punish you. Okay, it's the thing itself that will punish you. The Gemara in Shabbat says, and Daf Lamed Bet, Afilu teisha me'od v'tishim v'teisha be'ot ha'malach lechova ve'echad l'schut nitzal. He said over there, it discusses the fact that there are 999 malachim that will go against you, and one that will be in your favor. Ki yitachin shebemaisa echad yesh kama kavanot machshavot, because it could be that there are many machshavot and things that are mixed up in your kavanot and what you expected to do. Sometimes even a good thing that you did is mixed with bad thoughts, and bad thoughts with good thoughts. Everything as in your buv, and that's really what he speaks about in this paragraph over here. So let me read. Ve'omnam ikar davar kachu. There's an incredible dikduk. Dikduk is a specification about every action that you do. In other words, not like in this world where we just judge. Did the guy rob the bank or not? Did he knock his head off or not? That's not just enough. Even in the action that you did, even when you did a mitzvah, even when you did an aveira, we check in your intentions. There's always two sides to every coin. Sometimes he thinks like this, sometimes he thinks like that, back and forth. And therefore, we need to hear both sides. Hashem creates malachim on the good side, on the bad side, one that's against you, one that's for you, one that's positive. This is what he really meant, and this is not what he meant. I'm going to give you a story about this later, B'ezrat Hashem. And that is how the dikduk din happens. You're going to find many ways that it goes to this direction or to that direction. Either way, you always have a malach on each side. There's always two sides. A malach can only do one thing. So that means that every time you do something, you get another malach. You don't have one malach that does two things at once. So that's why we always talk about in the Nefesh HaChaim, how he speaks b'arichuta, you create malachim, but you create millions and millions of malachim. Every action that you do creates another malach, creates another angel, because each one has its objective, has its job in order to protect you or to hinder you, to hurt you or to help you. That's their objective, okay, and that's what it is. That's what he's mentioning over here, and he says, everything that you do has many aspects to it. It's not just black and white. Like I said, in this world, it's much more black and white. Because everything that happens in this world has many arkavot. And over here, the Nefesh Chaim writes in Perek Vav, in Chelik Aleph, Perek Vav, he writes an important idea, and he says that it used to be in the time of Adam Rishon that everything was black and white. Everything was clear. When I did something good, it was good. If I did something bad, it's bad. Why? Because the nachash was external to me. It was outside of me. There was me and there was him, and those two separate things. And therefore, he says that it was clear when I wanted to do something. It was with pure intentions to do the right thing. And who it did the other way around, that if you did something wrong, it was with pure intentions. The chidush of the achila from the tree, when we ate from the trees, we made a big mishmash. Eitz, adat, tov, era. The mixture of good and bad. What does it mean mixture of good and bad? Not just that we also know good and bad, but the good is mixed into the bad and bad into the good. Everything became one big balagan, one big mishmash. You understand? It became a mixture of everything. That was the problem that happened by the Eitz Adat. It mixed everything. So even when I do something good, sometimes we have the wrong intentions. Sometimes I do a mitzvah, but I'm really thinking about who's going to be looking at me, who's in front, and this and that. I'm trying to think about how impressionable I can make on other people. Right? You're always trying to do something. Always, a person does certain acts and he goes, I hope this is going to go into my book. When they write about me, my biography, when they're going to write about me, they're going to write that I also, gave tzedakah. I hope that everybody knows what kind of tzedakah I gave. Or I try to do something in secret, but I make sure to tell my wife and other people so they could tell people to make sure that they know, so that they can publish it. Many people dream about what their hesped is going to be about, what their eulogy is going to be about. It's a chaval, because the guy's already dead. What's the use of that? He's already a goner. But many people think about, at least by the hespedim, at least by that, it would be, people will appreciate me. And therefore, it comes from the wrong intentions. I have a relative, which I had disagreements for here and there. And I always found it interesting, because of all the things, even though he's completely not religious, but he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And it's not a contradiction, Chas Shalom. I didn't mean that it's a contradiction. But I was wondering why he was so into being like that. When, he was always into it. When I spoke to him about it, what's the definition of good, what's bad, we need a Torah that kind of describes it, because everyone can decide what good is and what bad is. If you decide what's considered good or bad as a bayah, because then you can decide what I think is good or bad. You make up what you think is the appropriate thing. Anyways, he was very strongly, so that's why I spoke about the idea of learning from the Torah to be able to do it. But anyways, he was very strongly with the opinion. Who is the person that, I said, why do you have to be good? There's no reason to be good. If you don't believe in that there's a Torah, which this person not necessarily does, so there's no real reason to be good anyways. You can just do whatever you want. What's the difference? So he said, no. The epitome of success in life is that at your eulogies, people will speak good things about you. That's it. 80 years, 90 years, that's what I'm here for. So that finally, when the guy drops dead, people will be able to say a bunch of nice things about me and say what a good guy he was, how long he worked. I said, what happens tomorrow? Like the next day after that, people forgot you. His skin is decomposing. You're left as a skull and bones. People forgot you exist. And of course, all your money has already been dispersed to all your relatives who forgot you exist. All they care about is the money. And it's like, I found it like incredible, but no, that was his thing. He said, he said, tomorrow I could walk out and get hit by a car. One day I'm here, one day I'm not here. But as long as I know that when I get hit by that car, that people will speak nicely about me and they'll say what a good guy he was and how much he was, I was in absolute shock. I'm like, that's it. Therefore I don't have to keep any Torah or mitzvot. All that matters is that people should speak positive about you. And that's what it is. Very depressing, no? Though in my opinion, incredibly depressing. How people can just live life like in such a stage. But all I'm pointing out here is that's what we're saying. So people, even when they do things, they have such intentions. They have intentions this way and that way. So even though sometimes they do something that looks good, not necessarily it's good. Sometimes they have ulterior motives, like I just spoke about, right? I'm a good guy, I do chesed and all that, but I'm thinking, I hope that plaque is on the wall, that people should remember me forever. I want people to always give me recognition. Victor Miller, he wrote about it in one of his pieces also. He writes how people will do everything. They'll kill themselves in war just to be able to get their name up in some town square, and people just pass by and don't even notice the name. They never looked at it once or whatever. Didn't have to do, right? To get your picture bronzed, with you sitting on top of a horse or something like that. In order to do that, how much people will go just to be able to get their name. Aval zeh shtuyot doesn't last forever. It's gone. When the person's gone, there's only one thing that lasts forever. And that's the real intentions, to do it, l'shem shamayim, to do things for the right reasons. That's what Derech Hashem is telling us over here. That the only way to get a good psak and din, you want in Beit Din to succeed, you want it to work out, is only with this mahalach. It's only with this mahalach to do it because you know that that's what I want. For the sake of olam haba, for the next world, that's what I'm focused on. Ve'ulam kol habchinot. I'm in chelik bet, perik vav, the sixth perik 6, and finishing up bet. So bet vav bet, finishing up bet. Ve'ulam kol habchinot ha'mitiyot ha'ele mitgalot bebetei hadinim ha'alyonim ha'ele la'amitan. They all come out the way they come out in Beit Din. Upstairs in Shamayim there's a Beit Din, there's a right and a left side, for and against me. And every time, like I said, there are many, many angels, because no one angel can do two tricks. He can't do anything. And therefore, there will always be two sides, and with many sides to each side. Every mitzvah you did, you have a bunch of angels here, a bunch of angels there, and they're going to fight to the brim. And then, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the judge, sitting in the front, will take his gavel, and he'll decide what is the psak that this person actually deserves to have. And that's what he brings out. Who is the Rosh Beita? Who? Imumi Batei Adinim She'adon Baruch Hu Rotzev Yoshev Sham Barosh. Hopefully you get to go. If you're a good guy, then the HaKadosh Baruch Hu stands at the front of the court. He's the one, I shouldn't use these mashalim, but just so we know, he's the one wearing the long gown, right? He's the one that's there making the decision, which is good, because then he can be merachem on me. He can be merachem. Again, Perik Shishi, the sixth Perik. I just finished Bet. I'm about to start Gimel. And this is the Chiddush that Derech Hashem is telling us, that even though Hashem knew everything and he didn't need Malachim to tell me he's good, he's bad, he's this, but he wants to show us that it was Bedin, everything was B'tzedek, in order that we can see that everything was 100%. There can't be any complaints. So therefore he lets the Malachim fight it out. That's what it says. Naaseh Adam B'Tzalmeinu. Hashem works with the Melachim. He wants us to know that we feel that He relates to us. He understands us. We're connected. In order that I can't complain. Over here in this court, people can always complain, and they say, it's not fair, it wasn't fair, you guys don't know the halakha, you didn't know my intentions, you're doing it wrong. Over there's nothing to do. You get smacked directly in the face. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. Dayan told me, he said, who sits in a Beit Din all the time, he says, people who don't know anything, complete amaratzim, when they receive the psak din, they go, okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. If the Rabbanim say that I'm supposed to get the psak, I lost, so I lost. That's usually what it is. Someone who's a proper Talmid Chacham that really knows Choshe Mishpat and he loses also, he says, oh, you're saying because of Bari V'Shama, it was the 2-8, you said it was because of certain ta'anot and the way it was. I hear it, there was a certain migu over there. He understood based on the ta'anot and based on what happened that really I deserved to lose, and he's okay with it. He says the worst are the people that think they learned but they don't know anything, right? The things that are the half-baked people, they learned a little bit Choshe Mishpat and they kind of learned something, but they don't really know the halachot properly. And this, they always, when they lose, you guys don't know anything, it's not fair, you cheated me again, you're doing it by kavanah, you guys don't know the halachot, I really know much better than you, I really should have won the case, it's not fair, this. Those are usually the problem. In Shamayim and Dvarim Keler, there's no such thing as such a thing like that. In Shamayim, that's it. You see everything on a screen in front of you. There's nothing to be machish. There's nothing to deny. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. There's nothing to cheat because automatically you will get it, you will be in trouble, as I'm going to explain right now. And this we start paragraph Gimel because that's explaining what we're about to say. This paragraph, until now we spoke about how it works in Shemaim. There's a right side and a left side, defendants and the prosecutors, etc. In Gimel he talks about the Eidim. Who are the ones giving the testimony? These are the Malachim. It comes out that Hashem doesn't judge according to His Yediyah, even though Hashem knows everything, and we know that He judges, but we still have free choice. He knows anything. Just like we saw in this world, Ba'olam TV, in the natural world, that Hashem could have made it, boom, that everything happens, but we can look into science, we can look and figure out things out in this world, and we can figure out a step-by-step process. That if a guy jumps out a window, we know the next step, what's going to happen. If a guy puts his hand in the fire, we know what's going to happen. It's automatic, just like we know in this world, there's conservation of energy, we know there's different properties in the scientific world, and therefore we could look into it, like we spoke about in the last paragraph. So too he says here, also in the higher worlds, in the Ruchani worlds, in the spiritual worlds, also it's not just you go up there in Shamayim, you go up and you get, you're a jerk, get him for you, throw him and get him, give him the slammer, put him in there for 12 months. No, it doesn't work like that. It works with a mishpat. Hashem says 1 second, he did like this, but he did this good. Should we send him back as a gilgul? Maybe we should get a little bit chibut hakever, we should pound him in the grave a little bit. Maybe we should give him a gehenna, but only we'll give him for 12 months. We'll give him a shorter time, we'll give him 4 months. There's a mishpat, and it's done b'digduk, with a fine tooth comb, with an exact measurement, how it's supposed to be done. And therefore, that's the yesod that we're coming to learn here in these paragraphs, that everything done in an exact, specific type of way. And this is the yesod which I want to bring out here, and that is this property, this idea, that when we usually understand schar v'onish, this is a very important yesod, the whole idea of schar v'onish. We have an shiurim on Yud Gimel Ikrim on the 13 principles of faith, and schar v'onish is one of the 13 principles. Reward and punishment is one of the things that we all believe. Everyone agrees, reward and punishment. But everyone understands reward and punishment means if you're a bad boy, you get Gehenna. If you're a good boy, you get Gan Eden. It's just like, like a booby prize, like some, consolation prize, and that's what it is. The way it works in this world is like that. Why? Because a guy decides to break into someone's house, some old guy's house who has a lot of money, a wealthy guy with a mansion, and he goes to the safe and he steals a few $100,000 and he takes it home with him, and then he finally gets caught. So what's the punishment that he gets? He gets 7 years in prison. 7 years in prison. Ma kesher, what's the connection between going to prison, going to jail, and the fact that they stole money? Money, jail, like what connection? What's the connection? On the contrary, if the guy killed someone, so he'll get 50 years in jail. Or if he did a certain more serious felony, he did a white collar crime, let's say he was stealing in business, and he stole millions of dollars. So yes, he can get in there for 20, 30 years. Jail always seems to be what a person gets for what he did. Like, what's the connection? Ma kesher. What does jail have to do with the punishment? It doesn't. They don't necessarily connect. A guy goes and plays a game. He goes to a game beach. I grew up in a place with the Santa Monica Pier, where they have games over there, and you can go ahead and you throw the ball into some little thing. If you get inside, you get the big doll, which you never keep in your house anyways. You stick it in the machsan, you'll stick it in the back because it just takes up too much space. But you go and you just do it to win the doll, right? You're familiar, right? That's what you do. What's the connection with this doll with the fact that I knew how to put a ball inside of a basket? It doesn't make any sense because I knew how to shoot the dart in the right place. So suddenly I get to have a squishy ball. So now I get to have a squishy ball. It's not connected. It's two separate entities. The schar and onish, the reward and the punishment, are not connected. They're divorced one from the other. Huh?
The system you have here is temporary to stop the person doing a repeat.
Oh, very good. That's right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה b'dvaro. Bijuk. The answer is the only reason why we get punishment in this world is to stop the person from continuing the action. The person is a child abuser or a molester, yes? So they put him in jail. Why do they put him in jail? Stay out of trouble. We don't want him to be in trouble. Keep him away from kids and not doing it. Unfortunately, we know the statistics show that even after he comes out of jail, it gets even worse sometimes. So you can't stop him. It doesn't even fix him up. Lo aleinu. Right? I'm saying that's where these things, these issues come from. So, like you said, what do? We say to put him out of commission. We try to stop him, or we try to show people, look, guys, it's not worth it to do this. You're going to go to jail. We're trying to make it disinteresting for people to do it. But that's what the whole judicial system works. There's something called the chok ha'onesh. In every judicial civil system, there is the laws of punishment, or I remember in history we learned in government, we learned crime and punishment. We had a book, Crime and Punishment, and you went through all the different levels about depending on what's called a felony. And I'm a little bit, I got cobwebs, so I can't tell you I remember every little thing, but when it's called a proper crime, or etc. You can help me out if you have any better names, but right, there's different levels of how bad it is, okay? How bad it is. Right? And that's the way every system works, but it's completely external. But you know what? Let's say a guy successfully knows how to, and especially in business, but also you can rob people, pickpocket, and he succeeds 20, 30, 40 times he steals. Once in a while he gets caught. Boom. They don't know about the 20, 30 times. He did this job. They say, finally he got caught signing a false check. He got signed right? He was able to do it. No. He got caught with a rubber stamp. He put the stamp in the wrong place. He stole a stamp and he put in the wrong thing, right? Finally, he got caught. He was put in jail. The famous thing with Al Capone, right? They were not able to get Al Capone on all his murders and everything they did. They got him on some tax evasion, like almost humor. He was evading taxes, but then they put him in for life, I think, for that. No, is that right? For tax evasion.
That's the difference between the UK level of punishment and the UK. Financial misdemeanors.
Misdemeanors, that's what I was looking for, yeah.
In the States, it's punished much greater than they do in the UK. They can decide, though. Yeah, the system.
Because depending on who the person is, they wouldn't do it. Stop with tax evasion, they won't put them for life, right?
You're saying you could. There's more emphasis on the extent of punishment as in terms of imprisonment.
No.
Right? I mean, you kill people get hundreds of years, right? Imprisonment. That's just, it's impossible in the UK. We don't have that level.
Even if someone kills someone?
Well, what it is, yeah.
Yeah, they do. They get 250 years. I don't know. What was I saying?
Each country decides what's important.
What's important, that's what he's saying. Each country decides how much it is. So you see, there's no connection. That's the point. There's no connection to how many years in Dafka jail and going here. There's no connection between the punishment and what you're receiving. You understand? There's no actual connection to what it is. Like I said, so if a person sees it's worth it, that's what I was mentioning with Al Capone. Some guy, it's worth it to steal. Sometimes can make a valuable cheshbon. He can make a calculation. It's kedai to steal. It's worth it because look how much money I can make. And first of all, it's a suffix. maybe I'll get caught, maybe not. And if I get caught, so say I'll stay in jail for 3 years, I'll come out and I'll do it again. What's the problem? A lot of times that's usually how it works. You understand? It ends up being shaveh, as they say. Why? Because the punishment is just meant to deter you from doing it again. But maybe you will do it again. Maybe it's not a deterrent enough. Maybe you have to get something serious. All right, that's the way it is. Seder, in the olden days they gave you the guillotine, so it was a little bit more quick to the point, right? The person got guillotined, finished, we took care of him for any... Anyways, why am I bringing all this out? Do you understand what the point is here? The point is with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Chas v'Shalom, it does not work that way at all. When we talk about believing in one of the Ikarim, the Ikar that says that Ani Ma'amin B'Emunah Shleima, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Neitan Schar and He's Neitan Onish for everything that we do. It's not just that He gives a punishment. You have to believe there's something called Gehenim or Gan Eden. That's not what it is. You have to believe that every action that you do is a direct consequence to, and the punishment you get is directly a consequence to what you did. Meaning the action you did is what punishes you. Hua Yetzara, Hua Malach HaMavet. And he's the Satan. It's all the same person. The action that you did creates a malach that will end up being the one that will put you in the slammer. Not the slammer, you don't get jail. That's the one that will cause eventually the punishment you deserve. It's not something external. When you go up to Shamayim, you see the chet. So you're going to say, no, I didn't do it. What do you mean? This is the chet. It's speaking, it's talking to you. You can't deny it. You can't plead innocent. There's nothing to do. It's speaking to you. The chet itself is telling you that you did something wrong. There's something wrong you did here. And that's why you can't do it. The punishment is a extension of the sin that you did. It's a harchava. It's an extension of the actual sin that you did. It's more of what it is. It's not just something external, something extra. It's internal. It's part of the sin itself. It's something that's an outgrowth, a byproduct of what you did. You understand? And that's why it's much more direct. If a person during Havdalah, when he's, when the fire's on, you go and you make Borei Marahesh, and then you put your fingers near the fire, and then, like my kids like to do sometimes, you stick your fingers very close to the fire. What? Watch this. How about you ever do it again, right? They stick their fingers and try to go through the fire, but by accident you stick your fingers too close to the fire, and it's a big bonfire. You stick it in, boom! You get scorched. It hurts. It's painful. It can go if you keep it in there for a long time. It actually gets painful. Is that a punishment? When you put your finger in the fire, is that a punishment? No. The Nefesh Chaim Bijuk brings this as a mashal in Perek Vav. There he says, no. When you put your fingers inside the fire, that's the byproduct of your actions. By you putting your fingers inside of there, that's what you ended up deserving. It's not something that was an extra. The Maisa itself is what's punishing you. You understand? That's the idea of what it is. So you have to realize that when we talk about schar ve'onesh, or reward and punishment over here, it's not something that's outside. It's the yetzer that's itself, the punishment, the action that you did is built in ifrad. It's inseparable from the punishment. The punishment and the action of the chet is inseparable. So like I said, you can't plead innocent. But you have a court case in front of you, and you see this malach says he sinned. He said, no, I didn't. There's nothing to say. However, on the other side comes along and says, yeah, but look at this mitzvah that he did. Look at this, and look, his machshavot were correct. He tried to do it for the right reasons. They put your machshavot inside of it, and therefore, I'm just trying to point out from all of this that we see that everything is b'diktuk adin. Everything is there, and there's no way to deny anything, but you should realize that every action that you have is more than just recorded on film. It exists. You're creating something with every word of your mouth that you say. Everything is heard, everything is there, and therefore you have to be extremely careful, because you're going to be up on a big screen, and there's nothing to deny. You can't argue when the big screen is up there. There's a scenario, which a scary scenario. You were talking to someone on the phone and you forgot to hang up. These days you don't always hang up. You assume that the other guy hung up and the phone's still on. And then while the phone is still on, you start saying things about him. You start talking about him, saying, oh, I hate talking to this guy. You tell your wife, so annoying speaking to this guy. He's always dragging me in. He calls all the time. I wish he would just stop calling this and that. And then so you're, hello. You didn't realize that the guy's still on the phone listening. You didn't realize, right? Or the guy's hearing you the whole speech. That's what's happening over there. You can't, there's nothing to say. What are you going to tell him? Say, oh no, I didn't mean it. No, he heard it. He was on the phone. It was on the line. That what you did is apparent. It was there all the time. Nothing is hidden. Everything's begalui. And if I could say the way it's described in the Sfarim, all your relatives are in front of you. All the machshavot, even if you have bad thoughts at the time, or things that you were planning on doing, or things that you did, which you thought that nobody ever saw, lo aleinu, right? Or things that you did behind closed doors. It's, again, certain ways described, you're sitting there inside of a glass box, like Eichmann was sitting inside of a glass box over there, and the screen is up, and all your relatives and friends are all watching the screen, and you're like, get me out of here! No, I don't want to watch this anymore. Get me out of here. And you're crying, you don't know what to do. But that's kebiyochel. I don't try to be over descriptive. And I said, you can watch the Life After Death show. But in the same time, that's a little bit what happens in the Din V'Mishpat. Over there, it's the actions that you did are seen, cannot be denied. You watch them, and everybody around you also gets to see them also at the same time. And everybody, your own mother is disappointed. What happened here? It's not a fun thing. It's just good to hear this. Not for the thing. Just to make us realize how our actions are not forgotten. Every word is there. The Vilna Gaon writes in his Igeret, in his letter that he wrote to his children, Kol davar v'davar, every iota, every word that you said is taken up in a cheshbon in Shemaim. And I know it's the Vilna Gaon, and he's talking to his children, and I realize we're talking about high levels. But at least when we hear these things, it shouldn't make us chashem go the other direction. I wouldn't speak this out to teenagers, something like that. They'll go, okay, if they'll forget, I'm not going to be Jewish. That's the real solution. So now I took care of the problem. No, so Hashem doesn't exist. People who are ma'aminim, at least we know to learn to control ourselves. I'm not saying I'm perfect either, chas Hashem, in any way, shape, or form. Any kitrug like that. I also have my issues, and more probably than anybody else here. But even with saying that, we have to know what we're up against. You have to know about what's going to happen upstairs. And when you know that it's going to face you directly in the face, it puts a scare. It says, maybe I really should stop. Maybe I should hinder myself. Watch out and make sure not to do it. You got it? Yeah. So that, when you hear this, on the contrary, when you hear all this, so now you really appreciate tshuva. Every time Elul comes and this, we speak about, you read the Rabbeinu Yonah, or you see the Chovel Levavot when he talks about the Sharet Tshuva and all these chalakim about tshuva, and you say, wow, you could be mochek techek, and we've heard these musar shmuzim about the chesed of tshuva, and it's true, and the Gemara is right about it. The Gemara is right in many times, many places, like in Rosh Hashanah and Yuma, it writes about the beauty of tshuva. But when you hear this, you go, wow, tshuva is incredible, because it erases a mitzvah. If I say tshuva is that you did something wrong, okay? You bothered your friend, you go to court, and you go, please don't punish me, please, I'll never do it again, please forgive me, I'm sorry, please. And the judge, or let's go to your parents, right? The judge won't forgive you, but we'll go to your parents, right? You go, Ima, please don't punish me, I'm sorry. And she says, okay, but just don't do it again, honey, okay, right? Yeah, oh, okay. I think a lot of times we think that's what tshuva is. We're like, okay, so Hashem forgave us. I did something wrong. I pleaded, and Hashem let me off. So I don't think we appreciate what tshuva is about. But now that you see what a chet is a hidgashmut. It's a physicality. It's a manifestation. Yeah, a metamorphosis. It's bringing to the forefront. It's a real creation which you created. When lo aleinu, that person did something wrong, when he turned the wrong way, or when he pushed the wrong buttons, or if he cheated someone in a scam, or if he stole from someone else, or if he spoke lashon hara in a very incorrect way. You created something that exists. This malach, this Cupid over here exists. It's in front of you. It's standing in front of you, and it's there, and it wants to get you. It's a little black doll, right? A little black doll with the little horns, and he's going to do it. There's no horns, no wings, no nothing. I don't think I mean that. But it's there, and it's out to get you. So when you think about, wow, I can do tshuva now. I can go ahead and I can annihilate it. I kill it. I put it away. I'm erasing, diminishing, and dissipating this creation that it will never exist again. Wow! What a chesed. You get so excited about that, and you really realize Yom Kippur's worth it, Elul's worth it. You start doing tshuva from 40 days before, at least if you're Sephardi maybe. You have to do slichot at least maybe, or at least maybe 10 days before, hopefully if you're Ashkenazi. Right? You try to be able to do tshuva, because now you realize that you're up and you're doing something real. You're really doing something real. That's the lashon of the Mesillat Yesharim. The Mesillat Yesharim writes this in Perek Daled. We spoke about this in Perek Daled in the Mesillat Yesharim. I'm sure you remember. It was about 15 years ago. But anyways, in the Mesillat Yesharim, he said, he uses this lashon. A person goes and kills someone else. Kimat, he says this, and he says, oops, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm sorry, I feel bad. He kills the guy and he says, I apologize. What do you mean you kill? He's dead. What do you apologize? It doesn't help. It's done. What does he mean to say about it? He's trying to point out the beauty of tshuva over there in Perek Daled in the Mesillat Yesharim. He said, you killed someone and now you say, I won't do it again. Say it, mechila. What is it? You killed the guy. There's no mechilot, he's dead. Because when you did an action, it's like you killed someone. When you did, there's something that exists. Just like when you kill someone, that's it, it's finished, it's all over. There's nothing to do. You can't bring him back anymore. So too, When you did a chet, it's something that exists, it's something real, it's something, a phenomenon that really is here. And therefore you want to erase it. The only way to erase it is by doing tshuva. And that's the chiddush of tshuva, that you're actually able to go ahead and take it away. Okay, I just think this is the whole reason why we're reading everything here in Derech Hashem, to bring out this factor that everything we're up against is real. When you did a chet, it's real. When you do tshuva, it's real. It's something that really exists. It's not just like a guy saying, I'll forgive you, I'll let you off, I'll be nice to you this time. It's something that really exists. I'm going to read one paragraph and just finish, just because I want to cover a little bit of ground. Again, I'm in the 6th parak in B'Seif Katan Gimel. You shouldn't go into any of these mishpat. You will not be able to go into the mishpat until all the malachim, all the angels are ready to give the back and forth. Hashem, he brings out what I spoke out to you. Brings malachim, angels, which they are the ones that are testimonies. These are the eidim, the witnesses, similar to a photo camera that are there, the videos that are there to be able to see everything. Ve'eli of Ola Beitin Shalmala, they're the ones who are going to come upstairs. The same ones that saw you downstairs are the ones upstairs, and they're going to be made on all the dreams. And everything is going to come out exactly according to Mishpat. And therefore, Hashem doesn't go, I know everything, I know what you did, so here's your punishment. Because if you do that, it's just like here in this world. Hashem could have built the world and just say, okay, sit in this world. No, you can't understand a word of nature. I don't know anything about DNA. I don't know about genetics. I don't know about universes. You could have came into a world where we don't understand anything. But no, Hashem put us in a world where we can understand it with one step by step. So too, when we go up to the Shamayim, it's not going to be we go up and Hashem says, boom, you get punished. But Hashem decided I wanted to work this way, that people can understand why you're getting punished. Before you go to Gehenna, I'm going to give you a good description of what you did wrong. You're going to see the good and the bad. You're going to see the left and the right. You're going to see how many things you did, why you're getting what you're getting, for everything, how long you're going to be in Gehenna or whatever you're going to get, Gilgulim and Chibut HaKevers and Kafakelas and all the other all the beautiful things that we spoke about in the life of the You're going to be able to see it, but you're going to know exactly where it came from, because that's the way Hashem wanted to make it work, as He says, in order that we can make a connection, an understanding, and relate and say, as the Midrash says, Kach nigzer, the fun of Tov Tzadak, that we come and we say that we accept the Mishpat the way it was supposed to be.